Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here doing my spoiler guy on games episode for Uncharted 4. Now, I did a spoiler-free video. If you want to check that out, I'll put a link in the description. But getting right into this, I'm actually going to start with multiplayer over single player because that's where I ended my spoiler-free review. And going into multiplayer, I was really excited because I actually really enjoy multiplayer for Uncharted. I got a couple friends that I play with all the time, so that of course makes me enjoy it a lot more. But I actually think it's fun multiplayer. I think generally, I thought it was fairly well balanced for 2 and 3, and I thought the progression made a lot of sense. You pick one long weapon, you pick one short weapon. As you rank up, you get better weapons, and you get to unlock even better abilities and stuff. And it's like, okay, you can keep the lesser abilities if you happen to, that's just better for you. But they kind of get rid of all of that stuff, and I was just like, well, just use this gun, and then you get better guns. And if I just started and you've been playing for a long time, the matchmaking doesn't really work out there. And that's a huge issue that I have. That's probably my second biggest issue, just because it's a matchmaking thing. But I'm fairly good at the game, so that doesn't really bug me too much. That's just as a general sense, like just being a huge gamer, that kind of bugs me just in that normal sense. Like they don't even have matchmaking anymore outside of actual, ranked deathmatch. And even that, I'm not 100% sure how that plays out because I've been doing that, and I did like the qualifying thing, so it put me in a certain rank. So I guess I'm in my rank, but you basically play 2 matches, and then you go from silver to gold, or at least you can. So far I haven't been able to do that. So it's just interesting how all that played out. And then the other thing, and this is honestly what bothers me even more than the matchmaking, because the matchmaking and stuff is like I said, that doesn't really bother me too much. I know it'll affect newer players much more, or casual players much more than it might affect me. But the thing that does affect me and everybody else, especially if you played 3, is the color customization. They took that out, and I hated that idea. I was like, that was a huge part of the second game, or the third game, and I don't believe it was. I don't think it was into the second game at all. I think that was something they made for the third. And then they took it out in this one. And it's like, why would they do that? Like, we have all these different characters. They have more characters than they've ever had in multiplayer because they have all the characters from all the games, like all the main people. So you have like 8 characters on the hero side, about 8 characters on the villain side. It might be even more than 8. It might be like 10 on each side. And you have all these different characters. They all have different costumes. You got Nate, who has like 24 different costumes. He has, first game, second, third, this game, and all the different costumes from this game, as well as the different costumes from the others. So there are a bunch of costumes for him, a bunch of costumes for Elena, Chloe. Cutter has a couple as well from the last game. So we have a bunch of costumes for a lot of these characters, and some of the villains, they have their costumes too. None of them continue on through multiple games, but just the way it was, I was like, there are a million different options for us, and they took out all the color customization, and it's like, that just really blows. And they have it in there if you buy the outfits for the characters, because there's one for Marlo where she's wearing like her leather jacket, and her normal costume is just black. But if you pick like the special outfit, it's white, and it looks like they basically make it look like she's from the Matrix, as they give her like those sunglasses. But it's like they have it in there where the outfits are different colors and stuff, and it's like, oh, they have a different, like Navarro from the first game. They have a costume where his vest, his pants, and his shirt are all different colors. So it's like they have that in there where they clearly you can change the they did it themselves at least, where they changed the color individually of certain outfits, but they went from this amazing level of customization. Like, you can have clan tags, you can have your own emblem, you can customize shoe color, which is crazy, shoes and gloves, pants, shirts, and hats. And they got rid of all of that stuff, and it's like, this is what you get, and that's all there is to it. So I hope we get a patch for it, because that really, it was one of those big things. It was like, that was one of the best parts about the multiplayer, is that you could be even more unique. Like, people can still be that because there are still, outfits and clothing, and basically the face stuff you can still change up, of course. But there are a million more options. You can change the color of the stuff you put on your character's face. You can have like the emblem stuff, and they had, which they took out of this game as well, the custom characters. And I feel like they took the custom character out because you can't do the color customization anymore, and that was a big part of it. It's like, oh, you can for your custom character at least, you can wear like the emblem sweater or the emblem mask. And because you don't have emblems anymore or color customization to change, the color of the emblem sweater or mask, they got rid of the custom characters. Like, well, it's kind of no point because we don't have any of the customization that made it a custom character because you went through voice and I I believe you could do sex, but I can't remember. I think it's just male characters, unfortunately, for the customs. But they don't even have that anymore. So it's like, well, that really sucks, and that just bothered me. That's probably my biggest thing is that they took out like that. That's one of the big things that'll bring you back outside of just gameplay. It's like I can just enjoy looking at all these different costumes that people wear, and I would love it if they brought back emblems because I would really love to carry over my emblem because I love the emblem that I made. Excuse me. I'd love to be able to carry that over from 3 and bring it in. And if they did the clan tags again where you could, put whatever little 4-letter words you want to, I'd love to do that because I thought that was actually really cool and it was enjoyable. But they just really dumbed it down. It's seriously just play the game and that's it. It's very, very close to like some Call of Duty style stuff where it's like really nothing to it. You just go in, and I'm pretty sure even Call of Duty has, matchmaking, so it's even worse than that because they took out matchmaking. So I hope that they definitely patch it up. So far, I've had a huge issue with the Savior sidekick as well. I got him up to the point where I unlocked where they toss revive packs at you, but it seems like he doesn't do it nearly as much as he should, and that really bugs me. It's like a lot of times I'll be down and I can take the time to turn the camera and look at the Savior and be like, what is happening? Why is the Savior just standing there? Sometimes I think they get stunned when they're being shot, but even that doesn't make sense because we don't get stunned as players, so neither should the AI. But sometimes they get stunned as they're being shot, or they just don't move. Maybe they're just not moving and being shot up. But other times I've seen it where the Savior just stands there completely still, nothing's happening. I'm like, what the heck is happening? This thing is just standing. It's not coming over to me. I have it set to toss revive packs. It should do that every single time I go down, and yet it doesn't. Like, it'll come to you if it's close enough, but it should throw a revive pack down automatically because that's the point of me doing this. It'll throw a revive pack, and then that automatically heals me. Even if the sidekick dies, I have that revive pack going off. So that's just a minor thing I've experienced with the Savior, and it's been very annoying with that. So I just don't like that. That was a little thing that annoyed me, but just the customization and the matchmaking thing really bothered me. Of course, we don't have elimination either, so we don't have our one life team deathmatch mode. They don't have whatever classic was. I forgot what classic was when they did that in 3, and it's like I think it's just like you start with this, and they don't have certain other features. I can't remember what it was because it's been a while since I played 3, or at least classic in 3. But it's like, okay, they have that thing, and they, whatever classic was that they took out, so they don't have that anymore. And we don't have the labs, of course, which came like way later anyway at the end of 3. But I'm hoping because they've done that so much with 3, it's been years for 3 already. I would hope that we get that sometime this summer because I know they're supposed to be adding co-op this year, which I believe is this summer, if not later in the year, some early fall or something like that. But we are getting co-op, so I'm excited for that. And I believe that's supposed to come out the same time as the single-player expansion, whatever that's going to end up being. But, I'm looking forward to what they add, and hopefully they add a lot. I really just wanted to go back to being like 3. Like, just give us customization for characters. I hope they give us the emblem stuff back, give us custom characters again, do male and female, maybe. That will probably, result in a lot of work because they don't have, like, female security and all that stuff in the game. It's all male army characters, so that might be a little difficult to do, but I don't know, maybe they do that and add female custom characters as well, but at least bring back the male custom characters, so at least then we'd have custom characters again. So I don't expect them to like rearrange everything and take it back to how it was in 3 as far as the loadouts and all that, but at least customization, just add it in. Let us have some fun with that instead of like, okay, you get these 3 costumes that this character has, and then you get these 3 outfits which are just a bunch of items put together to make them look this way. Some of the items will just be their normal clothes, actually change colors. Those are my favorite ones actually, because it's actually like the same clothing but different colors, so it's cool to see that. And it's just a world of difference. Like, you change something from brown to white, that's just a dramatic change. Or something from, like, blue to pink, that's a huge difference. And, having that customization just kind of keeps, multiplayer alive. Even if it's not from gameplay, it's just a little thing. Like, I can make this character and share that. But those are, like, my big issues as far as multiplayer goes. And then jumping into single player, my biggest issue is that there's no supernatural stuff. To be totally honest, that was my main issue with the whole game. There was no supernatural stuff, and there were no Nazis in this. And that disappointed me because they clearly set this up with the first two games. Like, okay, they go through, oh, the Nazis were here, they died off, they turned into, like, the crazy creatures in the first game. Second game comes around, you go with Tins into the caves, like, oh, the Nazis were here, and they all got killed off by the blue guys, which at the time just looked like monsters because they were in the suits. So it's like, okay, so the Nazis and then the supernatural element. And 3 kind of got rid of that as well, because 3 didn't have Nazis either, and that was something that disappointed me about 3. And I was like, oh, they kind of got rid of that trend. That was something they did. And technically they got rid of the supernatural thing as well, because really it wasn't supernatural. You were just hallucinating. It was just hallucinogenic water. Pretty much that's what that was. So it's like, it's not really supernatural, but at least it looks supernatural, and so it's still kind of there. But for the most part, it was just like meh. And plus, fighting them wasn't that epic either. I mean, it was kind of cool because they did do the dash, but it was still kind of like fighting normal humans that just moved a little bit faster, to be totally honest. So it wasn't like super crazy going up against them compared to like the crazy purple dudes from the second game, where if you let them get near you, if I remember right at least, if they grabbed you, that was like a one-hit kill. Like, you had to run from them and like shoot as you were running because they were so incredibly strong, and you had to either just shoot a bunch of bullets at them, or you get like that golden crossbow and you can hit them, one-hit kill them. But that was really interesting because it's like you can't let them touch you because they're so incredibly strong. And I was kind of hoping, they're going through, they got pirates and everything, and they had Libertalia. You get there, it's like the whole place is emptied out. They left the horses and stuff, and I was like, okay, this seems like it has to be supernatural, because why would this happen? Like, something weird's going on. The whole time I was playing, I was like, man, this fog seems real suspicious, because there's like a bunch of fog when I was playing that part of the game, and that was just random. And we go through the story, and it's like, no, they really just took off. Like, they went and they fought a little mini war in the treasury area, and then that was it. They all just left. Like, no one even remotely went back, because there's so much stuff left behind in that city. It's like they all just took off and never came back even remotely. They just left. They had a war, and it was just like, we're out of here, and that's it. Like, it just seemed weird. Like, there were no bodies whatsoever. No one died in the city at all. Everybody 100% left and went to fight in the treasury. And that was it. There were no dead bodies anywhere else in there, just the treasury. And then when you get to the end of the game, where Continent's places and everything, they all killed each other, and there were some people like hanging up and stuff like that, and like all the bone, I guess the bones of all those people. So maybe that's what it is. It's like all the people that died got carried into the caves at the end of the game. So it was just like, man, it was the perfect time to do something supernatural based. And I'd always been hoping ever since the second. I was like, okay, so all these games are going to be like supernatural, and they'll have Nazis. And it seemed like they were building that up to like eventually the last game. I figured like this one, it would be like they'd do the whole thing, they'd find the supernatural element, and instead of finding like the skeletons of Nazis, they'd find like current Nazis who are still involved in doing supernatural research and stuff. And so we have our heroes, our main villains, and then we'd still have Nazis kind of added into that. And that's how I thought the game was going to go, and they didn't do that. And they didn't even remotely do anything supernatural based. It was just a story, and I just felt like it could have fit. And I know for some people the supernatural thing probably doesn't matter, but for me, I love that. I like that idea. I like that aspect of it, because it is meant to be this normal world, and then they find the actual supernatural stuff within it, and that doesn't happen this time around. It's not even, like 3 with the hallucinogenic stuff, where it looks supernatural, but technically he's just, kind of losing it a little. They didn't even have that. It was just, yeah, they left because they fought a war, and that was it. There were literally no bodies whatsoever. Whole place literally just got deserted. Little town, everything was gone, and everyone got on ships, or everyone died. in that little battle inside the treasury. So it's just like it just doesn't seem to really fit to me. It was really unfortunate because when you do the ghost town thing, that's what makes me think it's about to be supernatural, because something crazy has to happen for the horses to just be left standing, you know. And I just felt like it didn't make enough sense to me. Like literally everyone, there were kids and stuff, and you would think even using horses to get to the boats would be faster. Just something would say there's more than enough people that live even in that little section for every single horse to be used to get to the boats just simply faster. Even if they weren't going to actually take them, like, we don't have time to save the horses, you think it would just be faster. Like, we need to get to the boats faster, so we take the horses. But there were multiple horses dead and all this other crazy stuff. The buildings were messed up and blown apart as well. Some of them were, at least. And it just seemed like it just didn't make a lot of sense to me how clean the certain area was for it to just be a completely natural occurrence. And it's like, yeah, well, everyone just literally just left, and that's it. No one came back. No one happened to die in the city. The war didn't happen anywhere near the city. It only happened in the treasury, and that's it. So, just the way it fits together doesn't work 100% for me. Like I said, the supernatural element, just that not being there, and them not doing like the Nazi thing, which, if you play the first two games, it's like, okay, they're clearly building something up here where it's gonna, the Nazis are constantly finding stuff, but it doesn't seem to work. And then eventually they'd find something, and they would keep making it. They'd get further, they'd get as far as we do through the games, and then we'd have to deal with current day Nazis or something crazy like that. And it was like they kind of just left that behind. It was like, oh, we didn't do it in 3, so forget it. Let's not even try to go back to it. And they abandoned any semblance of a supernatural element outside of the creepy factor of like sort of the ghost town thing, which, like I said, just turned out to be everybody left, and that was it. So I was admittedly really upset by that. I was like, this is the last game that was kind of, it was a big staple, like I said, even with 3, even if it wasn't technically supernatural, it was just really crazy. And this one was just like, nope, 100% normal, and that's all there is to it. So for me personally, that kind of disappointed me. I would have loved to have seen a lot more, well, they're not a lot more, but there are only 2 other characters that needed to be in this game, and that's Chloe and Charlie, to be totally honest. It's like, man, I wish they brought them in the game. That's what I was really hoping. Like, it's the last game. They introduced Cutter in the last one. You kind of needed to be in this one, so you got 2 full games. And it's like, man, I wish they just brought them into the game. It would have made sense. They're going all over the freaking planet. They're going to Italy, they're going to Scotland and stuff. And then they go off to like this crazy city, on a lost island. I was like, man. And they even mentioned, Cutter early on in the game, and it's like, man, they should have called him in and had Cutter at at the party and stuff like that, or something. But it was just kind of a quartet. We had our main 3 with Nate, Elena, and Sully, and then of course we had Sam in there as well. I was like, man, they could have just added in 2 more characters, because they could have. I mean, as big as these crazy globe-trotting adventures are, you can have 6 people and it is not going to be that bad. I mean, they kind of did it in the 3rd game where it's like they always had 3 or 4 people for each mission, and it still got really nuts. And I felt like this was the perfect thing. I mean, they were literally going up against Nadine and her like mini army. Easily could have put in Chloe and Cutter, and I think it could have worked out perfectly. And it was like, it was super disappointing to me. Like, man, they didn't put them in the game at all. They have their little references, like Chloe has a letter and Cutter has, that line of dialogue where Nate mentions them. But it was like, that really sucks. It's the last game. You think we just get to see everybody or something? They'd have them, even if it was a cameo, which it would have sucked. It was a small cameo, but even as an actual cameo, that would have been something. That would have been cool to see, and we didn't even get that. So it was like, oh, that really sucked too, because it's the last game. That's generally where it's like, alright, it's the last one, the last time you'll see any of these characters in a new setting, at least, unless they decide to go like the comic book route or something. And it's like, nothing. So it was really unfortunate. My hope is that we somehow get to see Chloe and Cutter in the DLC, because it's going to be a single player thing, so maybe it'll be the 2 of them, or maybe whatever Sam and Sully end up doing at the end, whatever mission Sully had planned, maybe he calls Chloe and Cutter, and that's how we get to see them. So maybe we'll get that DLC for a single player, and we'll get a good 2 to 3 hour like mini campaign. And if they're in there, that'll be fine. It still sucks that they weren't in like the main game, but at least we get to see them one last time with full dialogue, because they do have lines. Like everyone, they brought back like every actor and actress for all the the villains and heroes, and most of those people, especially considering all the villains die, except for Talbot, he was the only one in the last game who didn't die, and Nadine for this one. So they're the only two villains out of like the entire franchise of villains that actually end up living throughout the whole series. So they bring back all the actors and stuff, and they all have their lines for multiplayer and stuff. So I'm hoping that could mean like maybe they utilize them a little more, especially specifically Chloe and Cutter during single player. So that's kind of my hope for it. But those are kind of like my little spoiler disappointments. As far as the story itself, I still enjoyed it. It was really fun, but mostly it was just the disappointment of kind of the tropes that they had, at least in the first two games, that were missing. And also the set piece thing, which I mentioned in my spoiler free review. We only have like two of those, and one is the car chase. Of course, everyone knows it's like the big car chase is the only one really, and then the second one is kind of the scene where you're going like down the building and it's blowing up around you, but it's not the same thing because nothing's gonna happen. Everything's like totally scripted, and when you go through the car chase thing, you can actually fail that even as you're doing it, because you actually have to shoot people and you have to like maneuver around and stuff like that and drive the truck and crash and shoot. And then with the thing where the building's coming down, yeah, you have to run, but that's it. You just run through the building, and it is a cool set piece. Technically, it is like a mini set piece because it is fairly short as you just drop down, and then you like run as the building's sideways now and it's crumbling beneath you. But they didn't have like the mega set piece moments, and that didn't it did bug me a little bit because I certainly noticed it once by the time I finally got to that car chase. I noticed like it's fairly short here, but overall, I still love the game, of course, and I'm going to play it multiple times. But those are kind of my gripes with it, to be totally honest. Hope they fix the multiplayer stuff. Hopefully we get to see Chloe and Cutter in whatever the single player DLC is going to be. Hopefully they're in the co-op stuff. Maybe they'll make something new for co-op and we'll see Chloe and Cutter. I would love that. Just more Chloe. I just want more Chloe. Cutter, I like them, but I need more Chloe. But I want to know what you guys thought about this game, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite things, your least favorite things, and just what you think about this finale to such a huge franchise. Did it disappoint? Was it in the middle? Was it just fantastic? Because it is a fun game, but looking at it compared to its tropes and what they discarded, really, how does that make you guys feel? And of course, thank you guys for watching.